What's going on, everybody? Sitting here amongst a sea of boxes. Thought it'd be kind of a humorous backdrop, but also kind of relatable to what I'll get into here in this video. I want to talk about Coop, who recently went to the FIBO convention. If you guys don't know who I'm talking about obviously Coop from Garage Gym Reviews, the biggest home fitness garage gym or home gym reviewer. Got a chance to jump on a Total Gym, and that really, my eyes obviously lit up with that. So I want to give you guys my comments on what his perception is, a couple things he talked about in that video, and kind of give you guys my feedback and just some general comments from using a Total Gym for so long on possibly if this may or may not turn the tide a little bit to showing some respect to these sliding bench trainers in the home gym fitness, and I'd say more so in that resistance training community. As Coop alluded to in his commentary, which I will link down below, these things have been around for a very long time and are probably the biggest selling home fitness piece of equipment that is out there. And yet that was my point initially when I kind of talked about this in the past on why don't we see Coop or other garage gym reviewers reviewing these things, is because I think despite that they are such a big selling item, many people use them, I don't think they have a whole lot of respect in this community. And that's kind of where my biggest pushback and what I really want to do with this equipment is really showcase that they can be a very good viable option. But with that being said, I think they do have some shortcomings. And I think some of these shortcomings you might be seeing, possibly Coop, maybe other people have saw as well once you start incorporating other devices. But first, let's jump into it. I'm gonna play a very brief clip of what Coop said at the start of his Total Gym video.
Probably one of the best selling home gym products ever. There's a conspiracy around why we haven't reviewed one yet. It's honestly because they won't send me one for some reason, and I haven't gotten around to buy one yet.
So I definitely hear what he's saying. I don't think there was ever a conspiracy. I think what he's saying is legitimate, but as a viewer of the channel and someone, that's why I kind of wanted to showcase here, guys, who does some garage gym review content, it's kind of half and half with the stuff that I pay out of my personal pocket and stuff that's sent to me for free. So him being the biggest garage gym reviewer that also has access, obviously that he was bought out, has a giant conglomerate of an operation with sound stages and the like. I was still very surprised in the past that even though I know, and I actually talked to someone yesterday from a different company, that many companies, almost all companies, do send these things out to him free for charge, unlike some small channels like myself where it's kind of, you pay for some stuff and some stuff you do get for free. And I definitely don't discredit, Coop for doing that. It makes sense. He's the biggest garage gym reviewer. I think companies should send him stuff for free. I'm nothing against that. But I'm kind of surprised that given the popularity of this thing, that they didn't go ahead and at least just go ahead and purchase the thing outright at some point in time to just cover it, given the popularity of the machine. Now, do I think that they legitimately possibly didn't send him one? I think there's kind of two sides to that story, because I'm kind of surprised. I did have Total Gym. I paid for Total Gyms. I've also bought and used ones. I've had Total Gym Direct send me out a free Total Gym, which I've covered and reviewed. But the actual GTS, which is the one he's sitting on in this video, or actually it's the Encompass, they're essentially the same thing. There's a GTS, different name that I picked up. I actually did a trade for that, did a whole video review. I'll link that down below. That commercial one, I wanted to actually get that thing for review. Despite making so much Total Gym content, they would not give me one of those. They gave me the lower grade models, or I should say the home gym, the home fitness version models, and maybe that's what he was going towards, because I would say at this point in time, maybe for his audience, possibly they might be looking forward towards reviewing one of those more higher end commercial grade quality machines, but those are still very expensive. They're $4,000. But I do think they probably would have sent him the lower grade commercial model. And not to get kind of too deep in the weeds here, but if you guys don't know, the Total Gym kind of company is kind of split in kind of two factions. There's Total Gym, which is like the big global company. Then you have Total Gym Direct, which is kind of the home fitness kind of licensee operation. But I can relate to him that I don't want to go too far into his Total Gym is kind of hard to kind of communicate with sometimes, but I think there's a legitimate reason why he doesn't cover them. But be that as it may, I was always kind of surprised that he did not cover them. Now, jumping into his reactions and kind of really watching him very closely in this footage that I was kind of watching, which I kind of lost attention. As a side note, he actually has the same watch as me, it looks like, which I do love this watch. I will shameless plug, link this down below. This Casio solar powered G-Shock. I don't know why I said that, but I do love this watch. Not a watch connoisseur, but thought that was kind of funny because I was spending a lot of time in my video going through that, really seeing if this was the same watch. I think it is. Side tangent, I don't know why I'm saying that, but I do like this watch. Anyways, back to the topic though. As I was watching him do this, it was really cool to kind of see someone use it who's very familiar with other equipment, because I think the first time people jump on it, you can kind of see his kind of face of like, how do I use this thing? And this sense of, I don't want to say bewilderment, but just kind of like, how do you get your bearings with this machine? Because it is very different. And that's something else I think that no matter what your level of fitness is, there is somewhat of a learning curve to those types of equipment. And you can kind of see that a little bit as he's kind of going around doing the motions. And I think everybody would say the same thing. I've had many people who are avid gym goers, gym rats, and I throw them on this machine. You can just see they're kind of like taken aback and how to get their bearings with it. But once you do, it does kind of come very quickly. But after he got off, he did say these things are, I think he said, quote, "these things are very slick."
The amount of movements and weight you could mimic on that for a price that would be a lot less than a stack, that's a good home gym piece.
I think eventually it sounds like he will probably get a hold of one of these things. And I think his influence, which is very powerful, obviously, might potentially turn the tides of more people considering things, adopting these in their home gym, more people actually talking about them. Because I'd see very, very few people, aside from myself, my friend Skylar King, Stevie Richards Fitness, check out his channel. He picked up a Total Gym fairly recently and got content with that. Very few people are making content that are making other home gym, home fitness review content, especially in the resistance training space, that would even consider these things the time of day. Now, with that being said, to give some pushback, I just want to put these things on a pedestal. These things definitely do have their weak points. And actually, as you guys are watching this video, they're seeing some footage of a workout that I set up my GTS, which is very comparable to the model that Coop was using on that Encompass. I set that up in my garage to actually do a follow-on workout. This is probably like a week ago. And I was on it for a little bit, but to be honest, I jumped on it. I just wasn't feeling it that day with the machine, and I started jumping off to using some other equipment. And I think that's the point I've said very often, is that these things really do shine. They're amazing, very versatile pieces of equipment. If you're somebody who has a low footprint and you want to do a lot with one piece, they are great as a standalone workout piece. But I think where they start to kind of get shoved up against the wall, literally, it's actually mine is behind all these boxes here, is when you start incorporating other free weights, possibly functional trainers. If you start to get used to just kind of standing up versus laying on the glide bench or the sliding bench, these might get kind of neglected a little bit. And I think even my buddy Skylar, who I've had long discussions about, that's the same thing, that once you kind of get other things in your disposal, the Total Gym does kind of get pushed out a little bit. That's not to say it isn't still a very versatile and useful tool, because what I do like about it is that you can collapse it. And to me personally, with the space I'm working with, especially all these boxes and stuff you guys are seeing here, I always say I try and review things that I personally am going to keep. And I'm more at odds to kind of keep things and rotate things if they can kind of collapse and are easy to move around, which to me, that's one of the biggest selling points for a lot of the equipment I have, to not only keep things interesting for you guys in reviewing stuff, but also practically for me as a workout to not get bored of the space, the ability to kind of break up, set things up, and then break it down if I wanted to kind of switch modalities when I want to. But finally, I think the Total Gym or sliding bench trainers really hit on a certain demographic of people, and I see the same demographic of people that get into resistance bands, and I'll be talking about the Flexicon coming up very shortly with that band training machine coming out by Body Elastics, that there's a huge demographic of people that for one reason or another, whether it's justified or not, really have grown out of using traditional free weights. A lot of people say it's more forgiving on the joints. They feel really good using it. And I am sympathetic to both ends of the spectrum on how much that is legitimate or not. I'm not saying it's not if you just don't like free weights that cause you injuries, but there's no question that a Total Gym, resistance bands and stuff like that, if you don't like picking up heavy weights, you got some issues, nagging joint injuries, these things are much more forgiving on your body, and you can get in a lot more volume, you can get in more daily movement, and just more range of motion throughout your day. If you're looking to do something that is somewhat resistance training, but isn't something that's gonna have, I don't want to say wear and tear that popped in my head, but just a little more aggressive and harder on the body that you might need more time to recover. And I found it to be true for sure when I was using the Total Gym consistently for over those 2 to 3 plus years, I guess, give or take. When I was using that as my sole form of resistance training, I could work out very frequently, and my body and my joints didn't really have the need of recovery time compared to traditional free weights. Interesting though to hear your guys' thoughts on this, because I get literally comments almost every day about people that switch to a Total Gym for one reason or another, or that start incorporating it, or another one I got just the other day as well. People finally come around to it after seeing it and saying like, wow, this actually is a very cool, viable piece that I never really considered. I thought it was just for that infomercial crowd who maybe going to use it as a glorified coat hanger at some point. But I'm interested to hear your thoughts, guys. These machines are not perfect. I've always said, you know, you can get cheaper ones fairly easily. But if you guys do want to pick up a total gym, I'll link a link down below in the description box. Shameless plug, helps this operation running and to help me afford picking up other random things to review for you guys. That's it though, guys. Any questions? Definitely want to hear your comments and feedback. I'll see you guys on the next video.